So here we are going to see a demo of AccelOps in action.
Hi, I'm Jeff Christie. I'm the Senior Network Engineer here at Austin Radiological Association in Austin, Texas.
My name is Todd Thomas. I'm the Chief Information Officer at Austin Radiological Association.
This is the screen you go to by default, but one of the nice things about their dashboards is they've got this little home option, and you can choose any dashboard you like, even one that you create yourself. So like there's an entire section of self-created dashboards, and any dashboard you like in my case what my home is my incident dashboard. That's where you go to when you log in. So each of my engineers, like my server team, has a server dashboard that has some critical information for them. They don't care necessarily about all the incidents that are potentially happening across the entire infrastructure. They're just looking at their, hey, how are my servers doing today, when they jump right in. And they go straight to this dashboard. They give you an excessive amount of dashboards, which is great because, you know, anything you're looking for from your IIS servers are already prepackaged, pre-canned. They've got all of these dashboards available for you to use. But at the same time, you have full customization and to say, hey, yeah, that's great, but I just want to see what my internet links are doing.
Right.
So you can jump over and create a small dashboard that says, hey, here's my traffic on my internet links, do I need to upgrade? Each of these small windows is a report, exactly like a report that you would do under analytics. If you wanted to run your top CPU report for a certain amount of time, you would just go in and run a report. All of those reports are available down here in this interface as an option just to add to a dashboard.
Right. And
then it'll automatically run that report for the times that you set. Like in here you can customize it, and you can change it from seeing these as line views to, hey, I just want to see all of the information like a table view. Change the refresh intervals, so you know, if you don't care about having the most up-to-date information, you can go to 15 minutes or go down to 2. And you can change your time frame, and each report sort of has some different options, but anywhere from 30 minutes to a week is your typical option. So at the end, you're able to say, hey, I want to see the top 25 in a table instead of in a nice big line graph, and there's a list of all the top applications by CPU on each server. So,
all right. So you've changed the view from line graphs representing some metric to basically a more detailed list of what's happening on that same view that you had.
Right.
So
more of the raw data is
you can
now
kind of pivot
shown.
between those different views, if you will.
Exactly. Then each option here, you can say, hey, look, here's a application running 99.86% of the CPU, and these little circular buttons give you the ability to drill down on that, and it will take you into the reporting tool under analytics, and you can start doing some more deep dive, stretch out the period of time, look at the actual raw data if you're interested.
Right.
In this area, you're able to expand and add more detail as you need to. Some of the reports can very easily give you too much data. Like if we went into a server report and said, hey, for all of my Windows servers, I want to see the top CPU.
Right.
And you ran this for a certain amount of time over the past hour. And all of this is a web-based interface, so there's no Java, there's no application to run, and it's pretty fast for a web-based interface.
Yeah. While we're looking at the dashboards, another area that AccelOps does a lot of is sort of security stuff, and I think it's an interesting way to demo the kind of cross-correlation that they do.
So what we've done with this dashboard is we've taken all of the security events in the environment, whether it's coming from the firewall, Active Directory, our intrusion prevention system, our Nessus scanner, and have aggregated all of that information into this particular dashboard. So we're seeing things like top outbound ports from the firewall. We're seeing top block destinations from the firewall. We're seeing across all devices in the network logon successes or failures, which is coming from the domain. We're seeing recon or info leak statistics, which is coming from our intrusion prevention system. This is a top security event category by count chart. Then we can get top security events by severity, top security incidents by severity. We can get top devices or users by failed login, so this is aggregating information again from the domain layer. Top network scanners by event count, so this is also coming from our IPS device. So just what's really interesting about this particular software is being able to take all of these different, that it can take all of these different events from all these different devices, and we just populate it into a single security dashboard, so I don't need yet another tool to do security event information management. Everything that my security manager wants to see has been aggregated in all of these different dashboards. And like everything else within the product, we can start drilling down into some of these event categories, and then it'll pop you over to the analytics tool where you can get some very sophisticated details on each of these events. So on that code injection detection, these are some details from the IPS, so we can see it classifies it in a specific severity level, tells us the source IP, tells us the destination IP. If I want some information on this particular public IP address, I can get whois information on it, as well as drill down into Cisco's reputation sender base or Project Honeypot. I can get a geolocation of that particular IP address. I can get all kinds of information on this particular IP address to help me determine whether or not I want to write an IPS rule to just outright block this in the future.
Right, so you can really drill down to the core, so to speak. I mean, there's kind of no end of the drilling down to correlate between stuff.
Yeah. Again, all from within a single product. I don't need to use my IPS device or IPS interface anymore because we're putting all that information into one dashboard for the security guy.
Yeah, man, you guys have a lot of stuff.
We do.
That's exciting.
Yep. In the critical and warning state, I have 163 devices under hardware summary. That's not always the best thing in the world to notice.
That's right.
Like the dashboards are instantly useful. So here's my hardware summary. There's a top device that is critical currently and it's got a bad power supply.
Oh yeah.
I mean, without trying, you have enough information.
Yeah, it can make it difficult to figure out when you should be going home.
Well, that's why I hope my CIO isn't always looking over my shoulder.
I was looking for William Cannon. I had problems today.
The joke being that he actually is as we're recording this.
Yes. So this is the incidents area. In this location, you can look at all the incidents that are running through your system to say, hey, here's a CPU that's critical at 99.12%, and should I be sending an alarm to my end users? Like, here's a service interface critical, which I am sending to my server team as a notification. And that's another thing that brought us to this product. A lot of products out there have incident dashboards. A lot of products out there have rules that alarm when the CPU is too high and you set these thresholds. But what this product gave me were rules, which a lot of them didn't. These are totally customizable alarms that say when something is down. So in this case, like, hey, a device is down. In a typical application, you don't have a choice. They sort of give you a rule that fires off and tells you it's down, and you might be able to tweak some minor parts of it, but a ping up, ping down, all of that's done in the background.
Right.
In AccelOps, all of this is done under your control.
But I'm curious to see how you use the tool to monitor something that's virtual and how it kind of makes doing that a little easier for you.
Going back to my server guys, they always have issues in trying to figure out exactly, which VM host. In a clustering environment and in an environment where VMs can automatically, dynamically move between servers, you don't always know where they are, how much processor they're really taking, without going into the console and looking at it. There are some alarms that they can do inside of that console, and they could probably work it out eventually to get it all brought up to the point where you have an alarming tool on VM. But in this, I pull it in, I treat it just like any other device, but they have the intelligence to say, like, here, that's one of my VM consoles, here are all the VMs running on it, including their physical CPU and the like, and I can create rules on this just the same as I can anything else, and start creating rules that say, hey, here's where your VM is, here's how much CPU it's taking, whether it's taking 5% or how much it's taking from the individual server. There's some really good information here under the virtual summary, which my server guys have been using to track down the servers, figure out where they are. In some cases, it's like, hey, where is that server? And they have been able to find them here and get more information.
Another aspect that's interesting about your business is you're a service provider for other people. I mean, you have a lot of remote locations that you're dealing with, and it's not all sort of like centralized IT. So, I mean, can you show how AccelOps is helping manage that kind of service providery topology that you have to deal with?
So the way we do that is through business services, and in services you can create a like grouping of devices or applications, and you can go into detail. Like, this is one of my sites, and the business service will go critical and alarm to me that say, hey, William Cannon has an issue when any device, which includes the APC unit or any of the 3 network devices there, has any kind of event. Like today, William Cannon rebooted 3 hours ago from a power issue.
Right.
So you can come in here and you can see all the different events that we had: interfaces down, fan hardware warnings, and you can go into detail and find out more information about what happened today. And this dashboard can give somebody who says, hey, I saw a William Cannon event, you can go in and get even more detail. There's a nice dashboard at the top that summarizes all of this information, and you can look at current alarms and reports to say, hey, what services are currently critical and what device underneath them is making that critical.
Oh, right.
And then you can even dive into what incident is making that critical.
What we want to be able to do is, if I'm a desktop support analyst, I want to be able to translate into business terms if I'm talking to an end user,
right,
that yes, we have a problem with PACS, not that the Oracle.exe process is spinning out of control, using up all the CPU, and that's why you're not getting a response.
I'm not too sure my CIO would go all for me showing you users information. Under analytics, one of the things that did sell me is there's an identity and location report.
All right, and we had talked about this as something you guys were kind of looking towards in the future, of being able to track people, if not people coming in and out of the system, in addition to the chunks of silicon running around.
Correct. One of the things we had a problem with, especially our help desk, was understanding where a user really was, not where a user was saying he was. So this tool, it wasn't something we were looking for in the beginning, but the integration into AD and then tying all of this correlated information together to say, hey, I logged into this workstation today, this is where I've been. So tracking where, say, I've been and being able to say, yes, I've logged into a device wasn't something we were looking for in a product when we first started, but it was one of the reasons that AccelOps was chosen. Some of the other small aspects are the details they can get into, like from a network perspective, it's got all my configurations, so I don't need another tool to do configuration management. They already do it, including old backups, being able to do the differentials, all the things you want in a tool to look at the configuration.
So it's extracting that stuff out for you and saving history.
It's extracting the stuff out, saving histories, and you can go back and look at each timestamp when things change, and it keeps track of all of them. For my server guys, some of the nice things that they get into, we'll go into their specific folder, is it keeps track of all the software on a system, including patches, running applications, what patches have been installed. So that kind of information that you might be looking at from another tool that would be pulling in what are all my applications, what do I have installed on all these servers. There's a lot of tools out there that do that. Now it's in my monitor device.
And then, of course, like all other pieces of data, you can report on that and just go nuts with reporting over all the software.
Well, what's nice is now, because it's tracking this, if a piece of software gets installed outside of our change management processes, it'll actually show that this new piece of software has changed in the environment. And it'll log that as an event.
I appreciate you spending all that time to kind of dive into this. It's always one thing to see a kind of like a vendor demo of something, but to actually see a real real instance
Yeah,
is
no
nice.
problem.